Here is the starter for the lesson. You've got 3 ski runs to choose from, the red being the hardest. Take the number 32, work your way through the ski run and see what answer you get. Shortly we'll have the answers, so if you have a go at those in your book, please pause the video now for 5 minutes. Okay, and here come the answers. Right, so if you can mark those in your book then please just pause the video for 1 minute. Okay, and here's the objective for today's lesson. It is to add and subtract fractions. And you can see from the success criteria, you hopefully by the end of the lesson you'll either be able to add and subtract fractions, or some of you will be able to add and subtract fractions with different denominators. So if you can take 1 minute now, please pause the video, copy down the learning objective, copy down the 2 examples, and see if in the meantime you can come up with some answers there. Okay, let's look at the first example then. Often when people are asked to add these two fractions together, they come up with the answer 5/14 because they're adding the numerators and then adding the denominators. By the same logic, if we look at the second example there, that would mean that the answer here is 1, 0, because 3 take away 2 is 1, 7 take away 7 is 0, and that doesn't seem to follow there. So then we ask ourselves, well, what have we done wrong perhaps in the first example? So let's have a look what the answer to the first one should be. It should actually be 5/7 because you don't add the denominators. Okay, so you do add the numerators, 3 plus 2 is 5, but you keep the denominators the same. So the second example, when we're taking away, 3 take away 2 is still 1, but of course we still keep the denominators the same. So your turn now then, please. So there's several questions to answer here in your books. Please choose the yellow route or the green route. And I think it's just 2 minutes for this. So please pause the video now for 2 minutes and then we'll go through the answers. Okay, so here are the answers now. If you pause the video for 1 minute, please, just to mark the work that you've done. Okay, moving on. Right, so let's have a look now, adding and subtracting fractions when the denominators are different, and I'm sure some of you have already had that on your mind. So why don't you pause the video now and have a very quick discussion as to what you think the answer might be here. Okay, so looking at what we need to do here then, maybe some of you have already worked out what you need to do. If the denominators are different, we cannot add or subtract the fractions. So what we need to do is to make the denominators the same. So I'm going to take the smallest denominator, I'm going to cross it out, I'm going to turn it into the biggest denominator. So now they're the same denominator. But I need to ask myself, what have I times 5 by to make 15? Well, I've actually times it by 3. So if I've times the denominator by 3, I also need to times the numerator by 3 as well. So that now becomes 9. So 3/5 is the same as 9/15, just different numbers. So I'm now able to add the fractions together because they do have the same denominator. So 9 plus 2, well that's 11, and of course I still keep the denominators the same, so we have 11/15. Okay, so your turn now then please everybody. Several questions here. Again, there's a yellow route and a green route. Look at the questions you're going to choose. Can I suggest, please, that you have a go at this for 10 minutes now? So pause the video for 10 minutes, after which I will then give you some of the answers to see how you're getting on and a little bit of further discussion. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the answers you've got so far to see how you're doing. Please don't write any more in than you've got. We're just checking what you've got so far. Okay, so just pause the video for 1 minute to mark what you've got. Okay, so we're going to pay attention now to number 9, which some of you may have got stuck on, some of you may have overcome, and so on. But we'll have a look at that together now. So let's take a look at number 9, which some of you may have had a good grapple with, some of you may be stuck with. But what you'll notice here is that we've got different denominators like we've been looking at so far. Unfortunately, if you take number 3, if you take the denominator 3, there's nothing you can multiply it by to make 4. And likewise, we can't multiply 4 by anything to make 3. So in this situation, we've now got to change both fractions. what we're going to do is going to take both denominators and multiply them together. Well, 4 times 3 is 12. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change both denominators to make them into 12. So I'm going to take the first one there, 4, and turn that to 12. Well, I've times 4 by 3 to make 12. I'm going to times the numerator by 3 as well. So it will now be 9. So 3/4 is the same as 9/12. Now, from there, I then move over to the fraction on the right. Now, again, I get rid of the 3, I turn it into 12, but this time, this fraction has been multiplied by 4 to make 12. If I multiply the denominator by 4 goes times the numerator by 4, that gives me 8. So you have to be careful here because sometimes people end up multiplying both fractions by the same thing. So you've got to be aware that you multiply one fraction by one number and the other fraction, the numerator denominator, by another number. So now we've got 9/12 take away 8/12, and that follows as we've been doing previously, which gives us 1/12. Okay, your turn now then. Here we go. Let's go back to the questions we were already answering. Can I give you another 15 more minutes to continue with what you've been doing on these questions? And yeah, so if you pause the video for another 15 minutes and then we'll go through the answers. Okay, so here's the answers to those questions. So if you pause the video now for about 2 or 3 minutes to check what you've got. Okay, moving on, let's have a look at a planning on those on this topic. So over on the left, you've got the yellow question, and on the right, you've got the green question. Both of these are wordy GCSE exam questions. So have a look at these, pause the video for 3 minutes and see what you can come up with. Okay, here are the answers to both those problems. Have a read through the answers there, have a read through the solutions, see what you think, see if they make sense, and hopefully you've got the same answer there. So again, pause the video for about 2 minutes to have a look at it. Okay, finally, can I just ask you to read the points on the board, put a quick sentence in your book, have a think about what you've learned from today's lesson.